fierce debate between the government and the opposition over energy will happen during the next election period, indeed from now. The coalition unveiling its nuclear policy, including costings, on Friday. Joining me now is former Snowy Hydro Chief Executive Paul Broad for his views. Thank you for your time. I guess just first of all, your 30-second take. Did you see any issues with what the coalition released on Friday in terms of viability?
I thought, Tom, the Frontier Economics report was fantastic. It does the job, finishes the job that AEMO started. It does a full analysis of renewable and adds nuclear to their model. So it gives the robust and the credibility to the modelling. So I thought that was fantastic. And the fact that Denny Price did that pro bono, he didn't do it for partisan political reasons. Denny worked for all sides of politics. He did it because he thought the debate was off the rails. I admire Denny for that. And Denny's had a long association with the energy industry. He gets an enormous amount of cred to his report.
You might have a few people saying, hey, you do pro bono now. But anyway, that's out there. Let me go through a few things that have been highlighted. The first one around costs. Now, there have been assumptions made for how much nuclear will cost. Obviously, it's not an industry that exists in Australia. You've overseen a major energy project that has had blowouts. I know that there's been talk around perhaps Snowy Hydro was originally $6 billion and has gone out to 12 rather than $2 billion. But doesn't that highlight the biggest risk? The price of nuclear power plants could easily increase.
Well, the difference is that for Snowy 2.0, we're underground. And the geology is always complex. Now, I'm not making excuses. I have huge reservations about the 12 billion. That seems to me to be a number created somewhere. And they've, I don't know, I have huge issues about it, and I wait till the Auditor General does an audit of it. But on nuke plants today, there's 100 of them being built around the world. So on nuke plants, we have a much better feel for what it costs. And the private sector is building them. So I don't really have an issue with that. What they've highlighted is the transmission cost, which always gets missed. 2.0 was of no value unless the transmission lines are upgraded. And they're still not going to upgrade it, and they won't be upgraded for another 5 or 6 years. So transmission is the cornerstone of this time. The fact it's being highlighted, Denny's done the work. The big difference is transmission. AEMO in their original work didn't even include 2.0 and excluded most of the transmission. So we're now getting a better look at the total cost spectrum. So it gives you a confidence, not to say things don't go wrong.
Nuclear is being built around the world, but we don't have the industry here, and there are plenty of examples around the world where they've blown out. The small modular reactors have certainly had problems with timing and cost. Even the one, a couple that were completed last year, large-scale ones in the US, had big cost blowouts. Surely that's a major risk here in terms of this project.
Well, for my sins, must have a boring life. Well, I've been doing a bit of work and looking at closely the Bill Gates work in Wyoming and those packaged plants he's been looking at. And this is breakthrough technology. These packaged plants are right on the edge of the technology that's evolving, rapidly evolving. These micro nuke plants are right on the edge of the technology that's evolving. And your expectation is that any development curve does go through a phase where these things cost a lot, then start to come down. Australia has one advantage about being late into the game is we're going to learn a lot from those who went before us. And I think the ones in
so they're
Korea,
meant to be online in 2028, and you're saying 10-ish years later, when they're being rolled out, you'd hope that they've been sort of perfected. But again, that's something that hasn't even been built yet. Doesn't that show there's at least uncertainty here? If that's what we're relying on.
Yeah, not saying there's not uncertainty. There's uncertainty in renewables. Let me just give you a tip. To think that you can build wind farms in the ocean and not uncertainty, you're dreaming.
Okay. What about the other big assumption, less energy use needed? Now, it should be pointed out, AEMO has charted out 2 possible paths, and the one Labor's going is 43% chance and the Coalition 42% chance, very different amounts of energy. So I'm not saying there's no way the Coalition's happens. Obviously, it's a strong chance, but will they be able to pivot if it's not the case? If EV take-up's really good, if green hydrogen's taking off, whatever it might be, if we need more energy, will they be able to pivot within their plan from what you can see?
Well, they could, but just be clear, Tom. You and I sit here today and think we're going to have 98% of all vehicles sold in Australia driven in Australia, the next 10 years are going to be electric. Do you believe that? No, not in a bull's roar. There's no chance in the world of that happening. Electrification of households. I have gas at home. I hedge my bets. Do you think I'm going to close down my gas? Do you think the people in Victoria have significant gas penetration into the consumer market? We used to sell in my old days Red Energy and Snowy. We sold them gas and electricity. People aren't going to change that quickly. No way in the world. Why would they? Why would they? And it's bunkum.
The 98 figure, though, is not meant to be in the next 10 years, isn't it? We're talking 2050 here, and the coalition's, one of their key assumptions is it won't happen. I mean, no idea, but I'm already seeing a lot of the new Chinese ones enter the market because they're cheaper now. They're still expensive for now, but isn't this another unknown? So the question's around if the energy use is hungrier, because electrification could really take off, and if we don't do that, getting to net zero might push it into other areas of the economy, right, like ag or others.
For my sins, Tom, I ran a distribution electric company, so the power and wires in the suburbs, they cannot handle cars hooked up to the power system recharging at night. You have three-phase power to get energy into a car system. The three-phase works at your home because your neighbours don't have it. If everybody in the street's got three-phase on, you need to massively upgrade the street. The cost will go through the roof. No one thinks about what happens on these networks when you start tagging these things onto it. The network is struggling today with all the renewables in and out, solar getting massively subsidised, going in, going out. The networks are struggling like you wouldn't believe. And you think the costs are great now? You start upgrading the networks well beyond the transmissions. These are networks sitting outside your house. You try and upgrade them at any level to have electrification sitting off it at the levels they're talking about. Even by 2050, your costs will double by massive amounts. Massive. Crazy.